Today, I want to talk about this clip that's been going around. It was from Politicon the other day when Charlie Kirk lost his damn mind while on stage with Hassan Piker when they were debating what's better, capitalism or socialism. And I know that my crusading of crapping on conservatives for not being capitalist enough, I don't know if it's getting old. I know it might sound repetitive, but first off, deal with it. Secondly, I think Charlie Kirk is unique amongst conservatives because I did a video a couple weeks ago about Paul Joseph Watson, got some pushback about that, about how Paul Joseph Stalin isn't capitalist enough. And I've done videos about this before, talking about Dennis Prager and Bill Whittle and other conservatives who are very hypocritical when it comes to capitalism. But Charlie Kirk is a special case because Charlie Kirk, as you'll see with this clip, proudly says that he's a capitalist. And additionally, Charlie Kirk founded an organization called Turning Point USA, and he's still the head of it. And the entire purpose of Turning Point USA, just look at their website, their entire mission is to spread and promote and defend capitalism, as well as limited government and fiscal responsibility. But it is Charlie Kirk's job to promote and defend capitalism, particularly on college campuses and to college students. But Charlie Kirk, as he's mentioned in this debate, TPUSA has 35,000 donors, and they bring in about $15-16 million a year to work with. So these 35,000 donors are paying Charlie Kirk to go and promote and spread capitalism. They're paying him to get on stage with pieces of crap like Hassan Piker to explain why capitalism is good. This isn't like last year's debate, because last year I think they debated safe spaces and trigger warnings. But this debate is all about capitalism. This is what Charlie Kirk is paid to do. And even before this clip, watching the debate, I thought Charlie Kirk looked awful. I know I said in my recent video about NPCs that Charlie Kirk is a right-wing NPC because all he does is regurgitate slogans and talking points. And that's mostly what this debate was. It looked like Charlie Kirk was trying to shoehorn in whatever talking points or slogans he had planned out, often resorting to strawman attacks. He was evading some of Hassan Piker's questions, which I'll explain in a minute. But full disclosure, and I want to be clear about this, I'm on Charlie Kirk's side. I want to like Charlie Kirk, and I want to like Turning Point USA. But I sort of retreated from Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA about a year ago when Charlie Kirk started to dial up the religious talk, and he started to shit on atheists and say that atheism was a problem, which practically speaking, being a lifelong atheist myself, I thought it was bad policy to do that because, especially if you're going on college campuses and you're trying to reach 18, 19, 20-year-old college students, well, if those students are atheists or if they're secular, if they've rejected God, and you're coming and you're saying capitalism is great, limited government is great, meanwhile, atheism sucks and it's a problem, and you're making a package deal with atheists and Marxism, then you're going to be very alienating to people who might potentially be open to your ideas. Additionally, at some point, Charlie Kirk just became a blind cheerleader for President Trump, which also turned me off. So I want to like Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA, but they make it very difficult for me to do so, especially when I watch clips like the one we're about to watch. And to add some context to this clip, this was right after Charlie Kirk, which I think this was actually a decent move by Charlie Kirk. He asked Hassan Piker how much he makes, and he asked, why don't you live like a socialist? Why don't you donate 90% of your income to charity if you claim to care so much about the less fortunate? So that's where we're at in this debate. Too bad that question, putting Hassan Piker on the defense, came toward the end. Let's check this out.
$174,000 salary a year. It's not like we're going to buy a second home anytime.
He's referring to Heidi Cruz, by the way, Ted Cruz's wife, who said something like, I only make $175,000 a year, and woe is me, we can't afford a second house.
soon, but that's besides the point, okay? You're trying to attack me, which is ridiculous, like asking me what my salary is. Sure, I'll reveal it willingly.
You brought it up in context. I'm asking, why don't you live like a
hold
socialist?
on. Okay.
Go live like a socialist.
The point is larger. The point is larger than that, Charlie.
I live like a capitalist every single day, Cenk. I live as a capitalist.
I live like a capitalist, Cenk. I'm a capitalist. Yeah. Does this look like a capitalist to you guys? Does this look like a guy, a capitalist who has high self-esteem and is in charge and takes care of business? I'm a capitalist, Cenk. Yeah.
Okay, I live what I believe.
No.
What do? I get charity every single year.
Hold on.
I do charity every single year. I live what I believe. Yeah. Again, does this sound like a capitalist?
What's my salary? Less than his.
Charlie, take
Come on, Cenk.
What's my salary? It's less than his. Yeah. Yeah, I'm Charlie Kirk. I'm a capitalist. I donate to charity every single year, and I make less than you guys. Yeah. Does this sound like a capitalist to you guys? When you think of the word capitalist, do you think of a tantrum-throwing crybaby who brags about how much he gives to charity and how he makes less than his political opponents? Was that what Steve Jobs was about? Apparently, when Steve Jobs came back to Apple in the 90s, one of the first things he did was he cut all of Apple's charitable contributions. I think he said something like, Apple's not in the business of donating to charity, but if the shareholders want to donate their earnings to charity, that's their business. And he's right. And as a result of Steve Jobs' selfishness, Apple became one of the most successful companies in history. Or even look at the Shark Tank. Look at the sharks on Shark Tank. A lot of times you have these conscious capitalists coming in and with their virtue signaling products. We just wanna give back, and we want to help out the environment, and we want to create American jobs. And whenever those people come in, they're often taken to task by the sharks, particularly Kevin O'Leary, who's the most capitalist shark of the sharks, who says, I don't care. It's good that what you do. It's good that you think what you're doing is noble and good, but that's irrelevant because I want to make money. If you're not going to make me money, I don't want to invest in your company. And they're absolutely right for thinking that. But according to Charlie Kirk, apparently what a capitalist means is donating money to charity and making less than your political opponents and sacrificing. And this is a big reason why Charlie Kirk sucks at his job, because he shares the same moral premise and espouses the same moral premise as people like Hassan Piker and Cenk Uygur, which is altruism. But it's interesting to note that Charlie Kirk even sucks at altruism, because altruism means that you should live your life and make decisions based on how it will benefit other people, how it will impact other people. You should make decisions and live your life for the sake of others without any expectation of reward, without any expectation of benefit to you. You're not even allowed to feel good about it. You're not even allowed to feel good about yourself for helping out other people. So if you think altruism is a moral ideal, yet you brag about how much you sacrifice and brag about how much you give to charity and brag about how much you help out others and you virtue signal, well, you suck at the moral standard that you embrace and espouse. Look at Jesus Christ, a guy that Charlie Kirk loves. Charlie Kirk is a devout Christian. Did Jesus Christ come to earth and do what he did so that he would eventually be worshipped and so that buildings and statues would be built in his honor and so that people would love him? No, Jesus Christ came to earth and got his ass kicked and tortured and got crucified for what? For he died for man's sins. He sacrificed himself for the sake of pieces of crap. That's the moral standard that Charlie Kirk espouses. Capitalism is built on selfishness. It's built on the virtue of selfishness. The idea that you get to live your life as you see fit, and so make the most of it. Make as much money as you fucking want. But according to Charlie Kirk, being a capitalist is all about giving to charity and making less than your political opponents. Get the fuck out of here. But even before this moment, Charlie Kirk looked like a total idiot. It looked like he was just trying to shoehorn in various slogans and talking points, often resorting to straw man attacks against Hassan Piker. And he evaded a lot of Hassan Piker's questions. I think Hassan asked at one point, What do you do about all the people in America that can't afford health insurance and can't afford health care? And Charlie Kirk just asked, what about all the East Germans that fled to West Germany during the Cold War? What about Venezuela? And it's like, yeah, okay, you're right to point out the fact that socialism killed 100 million people and point out the horrors of socialism, but you have to be able to answer questions. You have to be able to answer tough questions, particularly talking about the issues of today. Hassan Piker was even lobbing softballs at him, making tongue-in-cheek references, at least I think they were tongue-in-cheek, saying that we need to do what's best for the proletariat, and saying that just because something's a Marxist idea doesn't mean it's bad. And Charlie Kirk's response was, well, the problem with Marxism is it's the incentive structure. No, you fucking idiot! And this brings me back to my overall point. So apparently, according to Charlie Kirk in this debate, Turning Point USA has 35,000 donors, and they bring in about $15-16 million a year to promote and spread capitalism, and this is what they're getting? If you're a donor to Turning Point USA, are you happy with what you see? Are you happy with this slogan regurgitating NPC temper tantrum throwing lunatic? My question is, what does Charlie Kirk do with his time? He is paid to promote capitalism for a living. I know he's been playing grab-ass with the Trump family and taking selfies with all of Trump's kids, including Donald Trump himself. I know he's been hanging out with Kanye West. Has Charlie Kirk bothered to read a fucking book over the last year? Has he read anything from Ayn Rand or Hayek or Henry Hazlitt or Ludwig von Mises or Milton Friedman or Peter Schiff or Tom Woods? Has he read the Federalist Papers? Has he read any Adam Smith? Has Charlie Kirk read any of his opponents, like Karl Marx or John Dewey or Woodrow Wilson or Paul Krugman or Saul Alinsky? If you're going to get on stage with people like Hassan Piker, you need to be able to understand where they're coming from so you're able to pick them apart. And by the way, while people like Hassan Piker and Cenk Uygur and Sam Cedar and Kyle Kulinski and all the other knuckleheads associated with the Young Turks, while they're wrong on a lot of things, they're not stupid and they should not be underestimated. People like Charlie Kirk should be well prepared to take on Hassan Piker. These are not your average college snowflakes that can be shut down by simply saying stuff like, socialism killed 100 million people, or what about Venezuela, or why are you using an iPhone and a MacBook if you hate capitalism so much? You need to bring more than that shit to the table when you're dealing with people like Hassan Piker. If I were a donor to Turning Point USA, I might consider cutting Charlie Kirk off. There are much better voices for capitalism that you can support and give your money to, like Charles II or Aaron Clarey or Yaron Brook or the Ayn Rand Institute. Why would you want to give it to this fucking snowflake?